MTN. Well, it's still unclear at the moment whether or not MTN will pay the 70 billion rand fine imposed by Nigeria's industry regulator for failing to deregister mobile phone subscribers. MTN's shares have since declined by, it was initially about 25% or so. They went up slightly yesterday due to some reports that the MTN has proved false now, but we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Trading near a 3-year low, we do believe. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government has extended MTN's mobile digital license, which was to expire in February next year, to 2021. For more on the story, we're joined by Owen Nkomo from Inkunzi Investments. A very good morning to you, Owen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ayanda.
Owen, on a scale of 1 to 10, how severe is the situation?
Now, look, I mean, I think we've come down about our concerns on this matter, because I believe that negotiations are currently ongoing between the MTN management as well as the Nigerian Communication Commission. And I believe that the news we got yesterday that MTN's license has been renewed to 2021 comes in as a positive surprise as well. Quite pleasant, if I must say, because this was due for renewal only in February next year. And I think that probably should give investors confidence that the current legal battle that MTN is facing in Nigeria is not necessarily out there to get MTN out of business in Nigeria. So I do hope that we will get a positive outcome from this. But definitely for the past week or so, it's been a very nervous time for investors in the stock.
Also, some news yesterday that MTN had reached some sort of a payment agreement with the Nigerian government, disputed at close of trade, but it did see at least 5% increase.
Yeah, look, I think most of that increase, obviously, in my view, was in line with the renewal of the license in Nigeria. I think we will have to wait for the outcomes of the negotiations before we know what kind of agreement has been reached between MTN and the NCC. I am really hopeful that we will get a fine that's less than 5.2 billion rands, dollars rather, because that is very punitive, and I don't think Nigeria can afford to get MTN out of business in Nigeria, because it's been a very useful source of tax and it's been a useful source of economic development in Nigeria. And MTN has got quite some decent infrastructure that they've invested in that country. So we're hoping that we'll get a positive result out of these negotiations.
Let's come back to South Africa. Investors here and also subscribers to the MTN network, should they be worried?
Look, I would say that we needed to get worried about the local client base of MTN if this fine were to be instituted. It's about 72 billion rands at the current exchange rate to the US dollar. Because it will force MTN probably into more cost rationalization, and the company is already in a cost-cutting exercise at the moment. So can you imagine if all of a sudden they have to dig up and pay out 72 billion rands, even over a long period of time? It would take a lot of it will put a lot of pressure on the management of MTN. And I think at this stage I wouldn't be worried necessarily if I was a South African subscriber. Potentially the only people that could be worried are the MTN subscribers in Nigeria, if for some reason the fee is levied in its full extent, as it's been indicated so far in the media. But if that is not the case, then I do think MTN will continue to be able to provide good quality service to the South African and the Nigerian clients. And also looking at this MTN Zakhele listing.
I was actually just about to ask you about that. I'm looking at the newspapers. It's all over the show this morning.
Exactly. It is. So
it's set to go ahead tomorrow, I believe?
Yes, definitely. It's going ahead tomorrow on the 5th. And I think as management of MTN Zakhele has indicated that they are also concerned about the outcome of the Nigerian Communications Commission's decision around the fine that they are levying against MTN. So people that hold MTN Zakhele, in my view, if I was a holder of MTN Zakhele, I would calm down and wait until I see the results of the negotiation that's currently going on. I don't think yes, there is need to panic, but I believe that MTN still has a lot of room left to make money out of these countries. And remember, MTN sits on a lot of cash that is outside South Africa, for example, in countries where you can't bring back those cashes, that money rather. And should those money come back to MTN in South Africa and its international subsidiaries, I believe it will make up for some of the fines they have to pay.
Just briefly and lastly, if conspiracy theories are to be believed and you contextualize the situation and look at the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria, I mean, also headlines of that arms deal that went wrong and the millions that, the Nigerian government is expecting to be returned back to Nigeria, and just the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria. Do you think South African government should get involved in this one?
No, look, I mean, I get a sense that, you know, in a case of this magnitude, it's one of the most important options. There has to be diplomatic negotiations involved here. Remember, for MTN to go to Nigeria in the first place, they were helped by our government to go and do some of the lobbying out there in Lagos. And yeah, the relationship has always been a very tricky one, I would say. You know, especially in light of the events that happened last year with the accident in the church in Nigeria and all the other stuff that we've seen happening. I would say there is a whole lot of room to improve the relationships we have with our friends in Lagos.
All right, so we should just wait and see, I suppose, for now.
Yeah, most definitely. The president is on the new president in Nigeria. It looks to me like he's very unconventional in his
he's not playing around.
He's definitely
He did say he was going to crack down on corruption and make sure that regulations are put in place properly.
Most definitely.
It's been a huge pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for your time. And from Inkunzi Investments, Owen Nkomo, huge pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, let's leave that there.